Welcome to another video from UA code 127.0.0.1. Students, definitely you are good and doing well in your life. Today I come to you my new CTF, and this CTF today I make after a very long delay. Actually, due to some reason I did not make this CTF as early as possible, so sorry for this. And finally today I come with my this CTF, that is protocol and server 2. It is from the junior penetration tester section. And as usual, I have already opened the target machine, and attacking machine is also in running phase. Okay, so before start my lecture, students, I would like to say you kindly subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to get the notification of all my upcoming lecture. And let's start without any delay. Okay, let's start from the task 1. The protocol and server room covered many protocol. Basically, this is talked about the previous room, that is protocol and server. I recommend you, if you did not cover this room, that is protocol and server, first you should move that room, covered all these protocol, and then jump to this new room, that is protocol and servers too. Okay, guys, basically server implementing these protocols and subject to different kind of attacks. Definitely all these attacks could be possible on any server. Definitely all the server use any of these protocol. And from a security perspective, we always need to think about what we aim to protect. Consider this triangle, that is related to the confidentiality, integrity and availability. If I talked about the confidentiality, confidentiality refers to keeping the contents of communication accessible to the intended parties. Mean to say, only the legitimate user should access to the resources. Any illegal person should not access the resources. This is called the confidentiality. If I talked about the integrity, integrity means the correctness of the data from source to the destination. If you send any data, then this data should deliver to the destination in its original form. This is called the integrity. And availability means that the resources should be available to the legitimate user on the time. This is called the availability. Okay, these attacks directly affect the security of the system. Definitely. For instance, network capture violates confidentiality. Mean to say, if a network packet capture attack occurred, during this attack, any third person, any illegal person can capture the network traffic, and then in this way the confidential data, he can access the confidential data. So in network packet capture attack, the confidentiality of any data could not be maintained. Okay, you know about the vulnerabilities very well. Basically, vulnerabilities are of a broader spectrum, and exploited vulnerabilities have different impact on the target system. For instance, mean to say, if any person perform a DDoS attack on any target machine, then definitely the legitimate user did not get the resources of this system, as attacker basically hijack the resources of that system. So while exploiting a remote code execution vulnerability can lead to more serious damage to the target system, it is important to note that a vulnerability by itself create a risk. Basically, in the RC, remote code execution, the attacker can remotely access the resources of any target machine, and he can then perform any illegal activities on the target system. So you can research about vulnerabilities by your own. Okay, let's jump to the task 2, that is sniffing attack. If I talked about the sniffing attacks refers to using a network packet captured. In this attack, the attacker will use a network packet capture tool to collect the information about the target. There are different packet capture. The familiar one is the most popular one is the Wireshark. So attacker can use Wireshark in order to capture the request from sender to the destination. Here you can see some other tool that you can use for sniffing attack, that is TCP dump. It is a free open source command line program. Basically, this is a CLI you can use in Kali Linux. And the other one is Wireshark. It is a graphical user interface. This is a very useful tool, and it's also free open source graphical user interface. The third one is T-Shark. It's also a CLI alternative to the Wireshark. Okay, now let me show you how you can actually use TCP dump. If I move to my terminal window, and now we know sudo as packet capture required root privilege. Okay, we wanted to limit the number of captured and display packets to those exchange with the POP server. We know that POP by default use port 1110. Let me show you. If I use this command in my command prompt and hit enter. Okay, right now I did not actually specify here the target. You can activate here the Wireshark in order to analyze the traffic between source to destination. I should select the interface, and now you can see all the traffic between source to destination is captured here. All the TCP packet you can see here, packet length and some other information about this packet is present here. Okay, now you can actually put here filtered in order to display only specific traffic related to any specific protocol. Okay, right now no information is related to the POP protocol is displayed to me, as there is nothing, no email services running on this target machine. But you can actually specify here the filter as well in Wireshark. Okay, if I type here TCP and hit enter, definitely now it will display all the traffic related to the TCP. Okay, now let me show you the answer of these questions. Okay guys, if you would like to learn about more about the Wireshark, here is the room present. Definitely you should cover this room in order to learn about the Wireshark. What do you need to add the command sudo TCP dump to capture only telnet traffic? Student, the question is that if you want to capture only telnet traffic through TCP dump, then what should need to add this command? Definitely you should mention the port number that is used by the telnet. By default port for telnet is port 23. So definitely you should actually specify the port number if you want to capture only telnet traffic. Let me show you. You can type here port. Here you should specify the telnet port, that is 23, and hit enter. Definitely now all the traffic related to the telnet port will be captured by TCP dump. Okay, what is the simplest display filter you can use with Wireshark to show only IMAP traffic? Okay guys, if you want to display only IMAP traffic by Wireshark, you can simply specify here this protocol by simply type here IMAP. Okay, I can actually remove this filter that is I put previously. Now if you want to display only IMAP traffic, definitely you can type here this protocol. Right now nothing is shown to me, as there is no traffic related to the IMAP is present here, but you can put here filtered in this way. Let's jump to the task 3, that is the man in the middle attack. A man in the middle attack occurs when a victim believes that they are communicating with a legitimate destination. Mean to say guys, basically in this picture you can see two legitimate users are present here, that is user A and user B. If these two users are communicate and a third person that is illegal, that is here E. Now A think about that it's traffic, it's a message is sent correctly to the correct user, that is B, but in actual there is a malicious user, that is user E, that sniff all the communication between these two users, that captured all the communication between two users. This is called the man in the middle attack, that any illegal person beside two legitimate user and captured all the traffic between these two users. Okay, you can use perform man in the middle attack by using ettercap or bettercap. These two tools you can utilize for this type of attack. Okay, let's solve the question. The question is that how many different interfaces does ettercap offer? This is the generic type of the question. You can actually Google it. Let me show you. If you typed here this question and hit entered, and definitely if I talked about the ettercap, it will use three interface. It will use three interface. Okay, that is one is called GUI, and the other one is called ettercap provides the these interface for the okay, let me show you. Okay guys, basically here four interface are present, but when I put here three, then my answer is correctly submitted. In how many ways you can invoke bittercat? And this is also a generic type of question. You can search Google in order to answer this question. There are three ways by which you can invoke the bittercat. This is also a generic type of the question. It is not related to any machine solution. You can see here bittercat, three different ways you can actually activate. One is web UI, other one is interactive mode, and third one is scripting. Let's jump to the task 4, that is TLS. Okay, in this task we learn about a standard solution to protect the confidentiality integrity of the exchange packet by and the following approach can protect against the password sniffing and man in the middle attack. Okay, SSL, Secure Socket Layer, started when the World Wide Web started to see new application. Basically guys, there is a lot of theory present here. Right now I'm not going to read all this, but I recommend you that you should read thoroughly for your clear understanding. And below a table is present. You can see some protocol and their by default ports are present. As you know, HTTP is use port 80, FTP use port 21, and other protocol and their you can see these protocols are not secured, and these are the secure protocol, that is HTTPS, FTPS, SMTPS, POP, 3S, IMAP S, and by default ports of these protocol that you can actually call these protocol are more secure, and these ports are as follow. Okay, in HTTP request you can see first of all establish a TCP connection with the remote server. The first step is that in HTTP first a TCP connection is established, and then the HTTP request will move from client to the server. There are two methods by which the HTTP request will move, that is one is get and other than is post. But in HTTPS there are three steps involved. One is the first step is TCP connection established as HTTP, but here the second step is extra. In this step SSL and TLS connection will be established, and finally the HTTP request will move to the server by using get or post method. This is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. In HTTPS extra step is take place. Okay. Question is that DNS can also be secure using TLS. What is the three-letter acronym for DNS protocol that uses TLS? Basically, this is also a generic type of the question. You can get your answer from Google of this question. You can see here abbreviation dot DNS over TLS. So the answer of this question is dot. Okay, it's time to talk about the SSH secure shell. Secure SSH was created to provide a secure way of remote system administration. Basically, by using SSH, you can remotely access any target machine and perform some task there by simply typing different commands. The syntax for remotely access to any target machine by SSH is this one: SSH username and then the target IP address. Let me show you how you can actually SSH a user, that is Mark, by using this command. Okay, I'm going to close the Wireshark. Right now there is no need of this. Okay, now if I type this command, that is SSH and username is Mark at the rate of IP address, that is this one. Okay, I'm going to simply copy the IP address from here, and now it's ask me about the password. Definitely I should put the correct password. Okay, I just simply copy the password from here and paste it and hit enter, and now you can see I'm successfully SSH to this target machine, that is Mark. Now you can see the content of this user by simply typing here different commands. Right now I'm present in Mark, and some documents are present here. If I move to the cd mail, cd mail entered. Okay, so this is the way how you can actually remotely access to any target machine by using SSH. Okay, you can use SSH to transfer file using SSCP command. Now it's time to actually move some file from remote system to my local machine. Okay, you can see. Okay, here some files are present, that is book.txt, document.txt, and a directory is also present. Now actually it's time to show you how you can actually move these files to your local machine by using SSCP command. Okay, let me show you. If I the question is that use SSH to connect to the this user with the password this one. Using this command, find the kernel release. First I should know about this question. I'm going to simply type here username and -r and hit enter. You can see it expose the kernel name and variant here. So the answer of this question is this one. The second question is that use SSH to download the file book.txt from remote machine. How many KBs did SSCP display as download size? Okay, it's time to actually move book.txt to my local machine by using SSCP command. Let me show you. Let's try this one. If I typed here this command, I should change here the file name, that is book.txt. Okay, book.txt and hit enter. I typed here yes. I should here specify the password. Okay, now you can see the book.txt is successfully shift to my local machine, and the size of this file is this one, 415 KB. The answer is that the question is that how many KBs of this file? You can see. Now let me show you, either it's copied to my local machine or not. Okay, right now it did not display here, but actually this is the way how you can actually move from your remote machine to your local machine. Okay, let's jump to the next task, that is task 6. It's related to the password attack. We discuss network packet captured and MITM attacks, as well as how these attacks can be mitigated using TLS and SSH. And here you can see a password attack could be occurred. And some top 10 passwords are also present here to actually find the password for Adobe. Let's move to the question. Actually, it's time to find a password for the account, that is this one, by using Hydra. Okay, here some detail about the Hydra is present. This is a tool that you can actually use in order to find the password, and some methodology is present here how you can actually use this in order to find the password. Let me show you. First, you should have any list of password from which you can find correct password. Right now I have a rockq.txt file is present in share folder, so I just simply use this syntax in order to find the password for user, that is lazy. I should specify here the username, and now here I should specify the path where the file is present. My file is present in rockq.txt. Here the victim IP address, and here you should specify the service. Right now I have to find the password for IMAP service, so I typed here IMAP. You can specify here FTP or any other service, SSH as well. Okay, see here Hydra successfully fetched the password for lazy user. Login name is lazy and the password is butterfly. Okay, there are other methods of Hydra is also present here. You can explore all these for your better understanding. And finally, this is the summary of this CTF. In this room, you learn about Stiffened attack, man in the middle attack, and password attack by Hydra. Some protocol lists are present here, and some other options that you can actually use with Hydra are also present here. I recommend you that you should read all these theory thoroughly for your clear understanding. This is all about my today CTF. Definitely students, you will do practice about it. I will come to you with my new lecture. Till that, Allah Hafiz and take care.